Good evening and welcome to the 8 p.m. news on Canal The English with me, Aleti Fetie Some. We start with our top stories for tonight. As the prices of beer increase, owners of drinking sports are worried that businesses might be affected if bonuses are not increased. Consumers on the part remain indifferent to the hike. Economic experts from some 40 African countries have begun discussing how to boost the economic situation of the continent and better the living conditions of youths. Public and political freedoms in Cameroon have come under scrutiny at a two-day workshop that opens today in Yaoundé. And out of the country, police in Tanzania have arrested 65 witch doctors suspected of involvement in the barbaric ritualistic killings of children. Developments would be yours right ahead. Cameroon's oldest Anglo-Saxon college, Sase, closes down. The legendary St. Joseph College, Sase, has closed her doors prematurely at the middle of the second term of the 2018-2019 academic year. In the following report, Ndi Morin says academicians are worried about this close of the college. Her report.
Bishop Emmanuel Bush of Boya Diocese took Cali Christians by surprise. Sunday, March 3, 2019, announced the shutting down of St. Joseph College, Sase. The bishop cites rising insecurity in Boasa village, situated not far from the college, as major reason. He explains that the military has been in constant gun battle with Anglophone military men called Ambazonian fighters. On what will become a little over 200 students of the school that have registered for ordinary and advanced levels examination, the administration of the Catholic Church in Boya says the students will relocate in Christ King College, CKC, Tico, another Catholic college in the southwest where there is relative calm. The shutting down of Sase College, a school that stands tall in academics in Cameroon, commentators say tells the whole story how secondary education in Anglophone Cameroon has come to an end. Sase College is not the first school to bow to the escalating violence in Anglophone Cameroon, but given the representation and reputation of the school, educationists say it will be in good faith for the Cameroon government to accept a yet another blank school year and prepare for the next. Sase College pulling down the curtains of the education drama in Anglophone Cameroon equally shows how the number of bulletproof jackets in Cameroon are just sufficient enough for visiting members of government and the military and not for students, teachers or other civil servants in Boya subdivision.
1 week after fire razed over 200 shops at the Congo market in Douala, traders have defied government order by constructing makeshift structures. Some have exhibited their goods along the road where they have been prohibited from going. Others say the 32 million francs given them by government is insignificant to bounce back. Ndi Morin once more.
Carpenters are at work. We are at the Congo market in Cameroon's economic capital, Douala, a week after wildfire ravaged close to 200 shops. This Monday, March 4, the sound hitting against nails could be heard at every corner of the market. The traders are busy constructing temporary makeshift structures and containers despite warnings by the state. We are pleading on government to allow us to construct temporary structures. We have to get back to business. Our families depend on us. We cannot stay back at home doing nothing. We have to continue in the struggle. This lady has put up a partly damaged container and exhibited a few goods on the ground. Just like her, other traders, victims of the February 28 fire incident, have either installed small tables and are holding umbrellas exhibiting the little goats saved from the fire disaster. It is a case for these ladies specialized in the sale of cloths for the dirt. We cannot stay at home. We need to continue hustling. And that's why I'm in the market to occupy my space. And with a table and an umbrella, I sell the little goods I have. The traders have expressed skepticism as they claim government will not respect the 1 year, 6 months deadline set aside for the construction of a modern market. Some of them claim the 32 million franc CFA assistance from government to victims is insignificant. The money is too small, 230,000 francs per person. What can you do with that amount? It would have been preferable for government to allow us to construct our own structures on temporary basis. That would have helped us more. Even this old site, reserved for the construction of a modern market, is gradually being occupied by traders.
A meeting to boost Africa's economy opened today in Yaoundé, grouping over 40 African countries. Economic experts are discussing how to better the living condition of African youths. Tabby Clarkson.
Public policies for productive transformation is on this theme that the third specialized technical committee on finance, monetary affairs, economic planning and integration opened this Monday, March 4th in the nation's capital, Yaoundé. Presiding over the meeting, Cameroon's Minister of Finance, Louis-Paul Motazé, decried the fact that Africa is a place of a lot of natural resources, and he wonders why Cameroon and Africa are still lagging behind in terms of development.
Africa has 30% of all the natural resources of the world. But at the same moment, what we can see is that poverty is growing. So all those countries of the African Union decided to come here to Cameroon to see and to discuss how we can move forward so as to transform more our economy. And we do think in Cameroon that transforming the economy must lead to transforming here our national resources so as to create more jobs for youth in particular.
The Yaoundé meeting, which is bringing together over 40 African countries, is aimed at improving productivity, creating decent jobs, thereby fighting poverty in a continent whose economy is on a constant growth since 2008.
You see the pillar of African economic integration is the integration of a member state at the REX. And I know that the integration of a member state is the REX is interesting, but the member states have a different manners to integrate. You know, it's necessary to adjust the national regulation, but the regional regulation. But it's necessary to make effort.
In 2018, the Specialized Technical Committee met on the theme Domestic Resource Mobilization, and member states noted that these issues have been the major obstacles for growth on the continent. 2019 has come, and there is hope that things will change for the betterment of the continent.
The need to empower youths to become agricultural entrepreneurs has been reiterated at an international summit in Yaoundé. Over 500 youths from some 34 African countries exchange ideas on how they can become more productive and fight unemployment. Regina Leke-Fonja-Tandan was at the summit and now reports.
The amendment on the management of excess duties on some alcoholic beers of up to 5.5% and less in the 2019 finance law has finally gone into force. From March 1, 2019, the prices of alcoholic beer and some soft drinks increased by either 25, 50 or 100 CFA francs. Off licenses and bar owners are already feeling the impact of the increment. Eve Nana owns a drinking spot in Douala, Cameroon's economic city. We met him a day after the new prices went into force, and he lamented the new measures already has an effect on his daily income. Once a customer comes in and discovers the price of his or her choice of beer has increased, he immediately leaves. Others even throws insults at us as though we took the decision to increase the prices, whereas it is government's decision. Apart from fears of losing customers, bar owners had wished the price hikes preceded an increment in bonuses per crate. It is important that government should meet brewery companies to increase bonuses of a crate of beer from 250 to at least 400 CFA francs. If you order 100 crates of beer, for example, imagine how much has dropped from your capital, whereas you have not taken into account the price hikes. When you increase a dime, customers will go elsewhere. The next thing you'll think about is planning to close down the business. Some alcoholic beer consumers are, however, not complaining, claiming continuous increase will not deter them from consuming their choice. At the moment, only the price list of La Société Anonyme de Brasserie du Cameroun have been made public. Other brewery companies like Guinness Cameroon and UCB are still not known. It should be recalled that at the meeting that held between the Minister of Trade and brewery companies on December 27, 2018, it was announced that the prices of beer will remain unchanged.
Well, that was Amber Gladys Diban reporting on owners of drinking spots who are worried over the increase in the prices of beer and say if their bonuses are not increased, their businesses might be affected. We now go back to the story where young people have been encouraged to be agricultural entrepreneurs during an international summit that held recently in Yaoundé. Regina Leke Fojatana was part of the participants and now reports.
Since 2014, statistics say Cameroonians are more and more victims of violations of human rights. The fight against terrorism is reported to have pushed authorities to commit human rights violations in several parts of the country. A workshop to discuss public and political freedoms opened this morning in Yaoundé.
Public and political freedom in Cameroon, because we think that there are many problems about that in our country. So we also think that it's good at this time of in our context to talk about it, to see how a different actor can bring a bridge on freedom of expression, freedom of the press, freedom of speech.
Canada, being a bilingual country like Cameroon, is in support of such a workshop, which is aimed at promoting the respect of human rights and equalities in societies.
Canada's foreign policy is based on promotion and respect for human rights, including equality. I hope that this workshop will provide a good space for dialogue and for deepening understanding of what all citizens can hope to in their life, to be able to enjoy which civil liberties they are entitled to. And I think that with the experts here, it's a good opportunity for all to get a better understanding and then to share this understanding.
The workshop, organized by an NGO baptized Nouveau Droit de l'Homme, a workshop which is bringing together university dons, political parties and civil society organizations, will end on Tuesday.
Well, we are sorry for that mix-up. That was Tabby Clarkson reporting on an evaluation where political and public freedom came under scrutiny today in Yaoundé. We now move over to something else where it was a groundbreaking conference to reconquer the lost territories after the 2018 political hostilities. The Douala 5 electoral district of the SDF has taken the commitment to win the battleground during upcoming elections. Kejang Henry reports.
The Social Democratic Front, the SDF, more than ever before, remains the most politically stable party within the opposition divide in Cameroon. Political hostilities or not, the SDF will always remain their conqueror. Evidence of its strength, the Douala 5-1 Electoral Conference was there to testify to the fact, as more than 1,500 delegates converge on March 3, 2019 in Bepanda for their diversity conference as stipulated by the text.
Of my party here in Douala, I have the confidence that the party is well organized in this electoral district, and I think we hope the future will be for the SDF in this Vuri.
The Social Democratic Front has turned the leaves of the presidentials with all the hostilities it observed and is now poised to regain its lost territories. Douala 5-1 Electoral District Chairperson Mayor Carlos Ngualem reminded the delegates of their responsibility prior to the political articulation that will lead to the municipal, legislative and regional elections. Remain that courageous militants of the Social Democratic Front that you are in order to triumph, Mayor Ngualem reminded the delegate. Fear not the bad air from political novices who brandish illusions, for they are deceitful, he continued, as the Diversity Conference rolled on at the Bepanda Petit Vuri caucus ground. Guest of honor was the Secretary General of the Social Democratic Front, Senator Jean Chemolu, whose special message to SDF militants was that of collective interest to reign supreme for a sustainable SDF.
International law experts and researchers in diplomacy have gone to the global public space to clear the dust on what is today known as the Abuja Federal Court verdict on Siseko, Ayuk Tabe and Co. Can the Abuja verdict be enforced? An answer in this report once more with Kejang Henry Atimbe.
What has now gone down the annals of legal history in Cameroon is what Southern Cameroonians, as pre-1961 geographical division, is the Abuja verdict. The Abuja High Court ruling against Cameroon on the abduction of Ayuk Tabe and Co. seems superfluous in the eyes of experts in international law. However, the debate rumbles in newsrooms, legal firms and around the academia on international terrorism and extradition. And so the question, the strength of treaties and convention regarding interstate legal battle vis-a-vis the Ayuk Tabe question. It has been acknowledged that a state where an offense has been committed by a person resident in another country might request the state of residence to institute proceedings, and that in such a case, a state so requested must act on request. International law experts have waived the Abuja verdict not on the basis of the status of Ayuk Tabe and Co. as refugees, but on the basis of Cameroon's charges against them. Explanation: they were charged for financing terrorism, and by that act, they are not covered as refugees by any immunity. Since it is a criminal matter, the Abuja Federal Court ruling cannot be enforced on Cameroon, and that only the Nigerian government can sue for the return of Ayuk Tabe and Co. The Abuja High Court ruling, many think, might just be another distraction, shifting debate of a return to normalcy through genuine and frank dialogue.
Bike riders in the town of Gaunduri are still to digest a prefectorial order how to fight against growing insecurity across the Adamawa region in general. The order bans circulation from 8 p.m. to 6 a.m. What bike riders say it's stigmatizing and will hamper their businesses. This report with Ladonet Ondesa Oni.
A prefectorial order of 2015 to fight against Boko Haram prohibited the circulation of commercial bikes between 10 p.m. and 5 a.m. in the Vinal division. And a decision taken by the Adamawa governor last February 28 now prohibits circulation between 8 p.m. and 6 a.m. in the town of Gaunduri. The governor has taken a good decision, though there are consequences. He could have said midnight. 8 p.m. is to spoil our work. The police is already on the field. Bikes have been seized and handed over to the Omba Council, and the owners have to pay 25,000 francs as fine. According to the governor, this measure is to fight against insecurity. Forces of law and order are in the bushes for this reason, and hostage takers are in trouble. Rape aggressors and bike theft are all done most often with the help of bikes. The trade union of bike riders is said to be taken by surprise by the decision, for bike riders are not responsible for these crimes. About 1,700 bike riders were aggressed between 2016 and 2018, and 500 deaths registered. For bike theft, 1,800. Meantime, nocturnal businesses are on downward slope and people are forced to go home early before 8 p.m.
As women prepare to celebrate their day, some women working in different ministries in Yaoundé have decided to shake off the stress that were recently in the South region to discover some touristic sites, as we hear in this report with Christelle Katala.
These women working in public administrations in Cameroon are visiting touristic sites in the South region. Led by the Ministry of Tourism and Leisure, they left Yaoundé to discover the most attractive sites that count the region. The excursion is part of activities to mark Women's Day celebration. The delegation of tourism received an order from the ministry to carry out this excursion in the South region, which for us is a touristic site, because we left Yaoundé for several stops and we shall return back to Yaoundé. The trip is to honor women following the feast, which is the International Women's Day to be celebrated on the 8th of March. Their first stop was at the Mezese Rock, high of 30 meters, with its caves. Another stop at Meomesala, then the Kum waterfall, before returning to Saint-Melima. Cameroon has several touristic sites. Women do not usually have time for leisure. They are very busy between their homes, their job sites, and babies. So this is the week marking festivities of International Women's Day. The Ministry of Tourism thought of women and organized this day. And we said women should look for time and come and distract themselves and carry out healthy activities. The excursion was important. It permitted us to discover touristic sites like the Mezese Rock. It was really nice. We appreciated it a lot. The women say they have succeeded in driving away stress thanks to the initiative by the government, even though they deplore the absence of lodging facilities.
In health news, as Cameroon prepares to commemorate World Day for the fight against malaria come March 24, Cameroon is organizing a vast campaign against tuberculosis in the East region. The campaign is being organized amongst refugees living in this part of the country. Details in the following report.
Cameroon's Ministry of Public Health has launched a massive campaign to fight against tuberculosis amongst refugees in Cameroon. We are here in the lower refugee camp in the East region. Amongst refugees, there are risk factors to getting tuberculosis, like poverty, promiscuity, and refugees in the East come from the Central African Republic.
Et il faut préciser que les réfugiés qui sont dans la région de l'Est, c'est ceux qui viennent de la République centrafricaine.
From tests conducted on refugees, every year some 2,000 people get tuberculosis in this part of the country. Calls are being for funds so that patients are taken care of.
Une vingtaine de cas avant cette campagne. Mais il faut dire que ce n'était pas un peu
It is not easy for all is centralized. Once there is a case in a health center, the case is sent to the district level. After this campaign based on training received, lab technicians will test rapidly on the results, which only gets to us at district level.
D'abord, les techniciens vont pouvoir dépister plus rapidement.
For 2 weeks, health workers will go around the refugee camp to screen and educate on tuberculosis. Before March 24th, set aside as the World Day for the fight against tuberculosis.
We now move out of the country where some 65 witch doctors suspected of involvement in barbaric ritualistic killing of children have been arrested by police in Tanzania. This and more in the following roundup put together by Ladonette Ondesa Oni.
Venezuela's self-proclaimed interim president, Juan Guaido, has called for mass protests as he announced his return to the crisis-stricken country. In his tweet on Sunday, he calls on all Venezuelans to gather across the country today at exactly 3 o'clock GMT. Mr. Guaido, who has been recognized by over 50 countries, has called on President Nicolas Maduro to resign, but Mr. Maduro insists he is the legitimate president and is backed up by Russia, China, and Cuba. Police in Tanzania have arrested 65 witch doctors suspected of involvement in the barbaric ritualist killings of children in the southwest and northern part of the country. This follows the murder of at least 10 children in Njombe region and other similar incidents. The Inspector General of Police, Simon Siro, told reporters that 45 witch doctors from Simuyu and 20 others from Njombe are being held for interrogations over the spate of heinous killings. Superstition is deeply rooted among some communities in Tanzania who believe human body parts can bring wealth. The Burundian opposition leader Agathon Rwasa has criticized the authorities for preventing him from launching his new political party in the country's Bujumbura. He said it showed that some of those in power had not moved on from the days of civil war. The ban was issued on Saturday by the mayor of Bujumbura, citing security concerns. The authorities initially refused to allow Mr. Rwasa to set up a new party, insisting he change its name. Mr. Rwasa, who says he will run for president in next year's election, was a rebel leader during Burundi's civil war. The authorities in Zambia have suspended the operating license of a privately owned television station, which the ruling party says is unfair in its coverage. Prime Television has been switched off by the Independent Broadcasting Authority for 30 days for exhibiting unprofessional elements in its broadcasting. The IBA Board Secretary Josephine Mapona says the station has been broadcasting through unbalanced coverage, opinionated news, material likely to inciting violence, and use of derogatory language. The governing party's General Secretary, Davis Mola, recently chased the crew away from his press briefing and accused them of being biased. Authorities say at least 23 people have been killed as tornadoes struck Lee County in eastern Alabama. County Sheriff Jay Jones said there have been catastrophic damage and there were fears more bodies will be found. The number of injured is not yet known. Rescue efforts have been halted until dawn due to the damage of searching in the dark. The most devastating tornado struck the area around Borega, caving a path at least half a mile wide.
This information brings us to the end of the 8 p.m. newscast tonight on Canal de English. Thanks for watching.